Fox News has apparently barred its own anchors from covering a billion-dollar lawsuit against the company that revealed its on-air personalities knowingly lied to their viewers about the 2020 election. Meanwhile, Fox also gave airtime to Marjorie Taylor Greene to defend her call for a national divorce between red states and blue states. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. You will often hear those on the right say that the so-called elite corporate media lies to its viewers, although I personally find it a little odd that they complain about the media being corporate elitists when their favorite network has a giant headquarters in Midtown Manhattan and is owned by a mega corporation run by a media mogul who is one of the world's richest oligarchs and the main villain from the second Crocodile Dundee movie. Yes, well, I can see that's a knife, but I'll tell my viewers it's not a knife. Who do you think they're going to believe? No, obviously, I'm not going to say the media never gets stories wrong or that you can't disagree with them. You can, as Senator Bernie Sanders did recently without even saying a word.
We also have one of the most innovative healthcare systems when it comes to creation of pharmaceutical drugs. You were doing this.
Bernie uses his index finger the way a samurai uses a sword. If he raises it, he has to wag it. You know, by law, he actually has to carry a license for it and keep it in a tiny little holster. What I appreciate about Bernie is that there's just no guile with him. It's the opposite of a Jedi mind trick. If Bernie had been in that cruiser with C-3PO and R2-D2, the scene would have gone much differently. These are, in fact, the droids you were looking for, but I'm not gonna let you take them, and here's why. The top 1% of stormtroopers already have 99% of the droids. But there is a massive difference between criticizing the media for limiting the scope of debate and claiming journalists as a whole are engaged in a broad conspiracy to lie to people, as Bernie explained.
Do you worry when you talk about the corporate media that you are targeting journalists when you say that?
No. Donald Trump talks about fake news, and that's simply to deflect attention from the fact that he's a pathological liar. My experience one-on-one with media, they work hard. They very rarely am I misquoted. But what I am talking about, Margaret, is that corporate media limits the kind of debate that we have in this country. Mm-hmm. You tell me, you know more about it than I do. How often do we talk about income and wealth inequality?
We're talking about right now, Senator.
Yeah, but how often? Not everybody is Bernie Sanders on your show.
And, you know, Bernie will go on any show if you're willing to let him talk about income inequality. Bernie would fully do the Masked Singer if it meant getting his message out. Bravo, good guess, but now the bad news. Anyway, the point is there's a difference between good faith media criticism and claiming journalists are engaged in a nefarious conspiracy of lies, as the right often does. In fact, as it turns out, they're the ones knowingly lying to their viewers, as we found out from a recent court filing in a billion-dollar defamation suit against Fox News.
A stunning new court filing revealing how top talent and executives at Fox News trashed Donald Trump and ridiculed his legal team and their 2020 election conspiracies behind the cameras, all while hyping those same conspiracies on the air to their viewers.
Fox staff were privately blasting the big lie as BS, insane, mind-blowingly nuts, reckless.
As Trump lawyers Rudy Giuliani and Sidney Powell were making wildly false claims about rigged voting machines after Trump lost in 2020, private communications reveal that pro-Trump voices at Fox News were calling it nuts. Watching Giuliani, Rupert wrote in an email, really crazy stuff and damaging. Sidney Powell is lying, by the way. Tucker Carlson wrote to fellow Fox host Laura Ingraham, "I caught her. It's insane." Ingraham responded, "Sidney is a complete nut. No one will work with her." Ditto with Rudy. That whole narrative that Sidney was pushing, said Fox host Sean Hannity, I did not believe it for 1 second.
They were all communicating privately about how insane the big lie was while turning around and hyping that lie to their viewers. When I first read those quotes, I was honestly speechless. I just wish I had a way to communicate my disapproval without words. Oh! Senator, please put that finger back in its holster. You know, when he's over my shoulder like that, he looks like the angel Bernie telling me not to do something bad. Angel Bernie, should I lie to my viewers and tell them Trump won the election? Oh. Oh, but that must mean there's a devil Bernie on my other side telling me to go for it. Let's see. Devil Bernie, should I lie to my viewers for ratings? Oh. Oh, no. You guys, this is what happens when we take a week off. We lose our focus and we have two birdies on screen at the same time. The point is, the very same Fox News anchors who constantly accused the so-called mainstream media of lying were themselves lying to their viewers and were admitting behind closed doors that they were lying to their viewers. And the supposed evidence they were getting for all these claims was transparently insane on its face.
Before one interview with Trump lawyer Sidney Powell, in advance she told Fox that her single source for these election claims was a person who does, quote, time travel in a semi-conscious state. Let me repeat that. Their source, now at the heart of this defamation claim, at a time when the lies led to violence, was someone who said they knew what they knew because they got it by experiencing time travel in a semi-conscious state.
If Sidney Powell had a time-traveling friend, why didn't they tell her turtleneck sweaters were out of style? Fun fact, Sidney wore that outfit at the press conference where Rudy's head started to leak. You guys remember that? A date professional hair and makeup artists now refer to as their Pearl Harbor. Of course, Rudy doesn't use professional hair and makeup artists. I save so much money when I do it myself. Rudy, one of your eyes fell off. Double-sided tape my ass. And can I say if Fox News had a time traveler? I always thought it would be Rudy. I mean, look at him. He always looks like he just got back from the year 3000. Of course, in Rudy's version of Back to the Future, he travels back in time to make sure his parents never met. If they never marry, my first wife won't legally be my second cousin. Yeah, Rudy, if they never meet, you'll never be born. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But that's right, Fox aired an interview with a crazy person who told them in advance that her only source for her election fraud claims was someone who supposedly time-traveled in a semi-conscious state. Was there any follow-up? Man, Sidney, it would help if you had a second source here. I have a haunted antique doll who sometimes speaks to me, but sadly, she's pretty convinced Biden won fair and square. Yeah, she's being a real bitch about it. My favorite part of that time travel story, by the way, is that the Fox anchor who received that information then passed it along to the Trump family.
Not only did they air that, but the host, Maria Bartiromo, welcomed that lawyer Powell, knowing that she had this made-up conspiracy theory. And then, that's not all. The Fox anchor then steps in as a conduit to take that information back to Trump family members. Quote, responding to the lawyer, Powell, that she shared this important info with Eric Trump.
Man, if there's anyone in the Trump family who would be excited to hear that time travel is real, it would be Eric Trump. Thank you for sharing this important info, Maria. I will use it to travel back in time wearing a mask of my father's face to have a catch with my 7-year-old self. I think that will fix everything. I will also intercept and replace that birthday card he once gave me that said, happy whatever. Why does Hallmark even make those? The lawsuit also alleged that Trump himself tried to call into Fox on January 6th, but that Fox refused to put him on air, presumably because they knew what he was saying was dangerous. According to CNN, Trump tried to call into Fox News after his supporters attacked the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021, but the network refused to put him on air because it would be irresponsible to put him on the air and could impact a lot of people in a negative way. That is the most polite euphemism I've ever heard. That's like Hannibal Lecter describing himself in his Tinder bio as a foodie with an adventurous palate. So Fox knew this was all BS, and yet they were hyping it to their viewers anyway. In fact, they were even trying to punish others at the network who dared to correct the record.
When Trump falsely claimed that Dominion machines cost him 2.7 million votes, Fox reporter Jackie Heinrich responded with a tweet saying, Dominion voting and top election infrastructure officials categorically deny this. Some of Heinrich's colleagues at Fox wanted her to be punished, even though they knew that what she was saying was true. Please get her fired. Seriously, Tucker Carlson wrote, host Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity, it needs to stop immediately, like tonight. It's measurably hurting the company. The stock price is down. Not a joke.
So next time Tucker rails against corporate media, remember, he does the news with one eye on the stock ticker. He's always checking on Fox's stock price as well as his other investments like the Bowtie Emporium and M&M's. But Tucker isn't news. He's entertainment, and he knows his audience doesn't want the truth. They want their stories. Tucker telling the truth would be like Kylo Ren turning to camera mid-threatening monologue and saying, I'm not really Kylo Ren, I'm Adam Driver. You guys know me. from girls. None of this is real. It's just for fun. Anyway, back to space. Fox viewers didn't want the truth then, and they don't want the truth now, which is why no one on Fox is talking about the lawsuit. Yesterday, one of their anchors said on air that the company had told him he couldn't cover the lawsuit despite his strong objections.
Some of you have been asking why I'm not covering the Dominion voting machines lawsuit against Fox involving the unproven claims of election fraud in 2020, and it's absolutely a fair question. I believe I should be covering it. It's a major media story, given my role here at Fox. But the company has decided that as part of the organization being sued, I can't talk about it or write about it, at least for now. I strongly disagree with that decision, but as an employee, I have to abide by it. And if that changes, I'll let you know.
So Fox is censoring its own anchors now. What's next? Are they going to replace Sean Hannity with that Microsoft chat box that started going haywire in everyone? What are they going to do, program it to say the word woke over and over?
Welcome to Hannity. Tonight's top story: woke Legos are taking over woke M&Ms, woke textbooks, woke Potato Head, woke Dr. Seuss, woke.
And yet none of these revelations seem to have changed anything over at Fox. They're still doing their usual thing. Just last week, they gave Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene extensive airtime to explain her unhinged call for a, quote, national divorce, which she said would separate red states from blue states.
I don't see middle ground on a lot of these issues. So what is the other answer if it's not a divorce?
Well, exactly, Sean. That's the problem and where we are today. And in my life, in my world, all of my friends are regular Americans. Everyone I talk to is sick and tired and fed up of being bullied by the left, abused by the left, and disrespected by the left. And our ideas, our policies, our ways of life have become so far apart that it's just coming to that point.
And do you expect it'll happen? Last question.
Well, I think it's something that we should work towards because, you know, it's kind of the vision that our founding fathers had for America.
A national divorce? A national divorce was the vision of the founding fathers. I know because I time traveled in a semi-conscious state and talked to them. How about this? Instead of a compromise, this will be the compromise. Instead of red states getting a divorce from blue states, America gets a divorce from green. She's definitely dressed for it. Remember when she showed up to the State of the Union screaming at Joe Biden in a white fur collar like she was demanding sole custody of the Maltese? You hand over Clarabelle right now. I'm the one who fed her organic chow and put bows in her hair. The Dominion lawsuit has exposed yet again that the people who constantly accuse the rest of the media of lying are themselves the ones who knowingly lied to their viewers. They took their cues from, among others, a guy who always looks like he's about to
time travel in a semi-conscious state.
This has been A Closer Look.